Hey, folks, welcome to a new episode of the Whiskey Ring Podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to be back over visiting Ireland, although our guest is actually here in the States right now. I'm thrilled to welcome on Laura Bonner. She is the founder of the Muff Liquor Company out of Muff, Ireland, in County Donegal, which we've visited at least once, maybe twice. And she's a native of the area. So, Laura, welcome on.
Thank you. Hi, David. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, I do want to give a quick shout out to Colangelo and Partners for introducing us. It's been a pleasure to try the whiskey that is coming out and get to talk to you about it. So, just for the sake of time, we are talking to Laura. Said 12 weeks today since you've launched in the US.
Yeah.
So late, what was that?
10th of
Late,
January. I think it's 10th of
yeah,
January is when we officially kicked everything off. So I'm not officially in 34 states as of today.
fantastic.
Mhm.
So yes, there's 12 weeks after, so brand new to the States, but
Mm-hmm.
already just taking over the markets, and I'm loving it. So, in the interest of time, I am going to skip over just a little bit of the origin story because Laura's been generous with her time with other podcasts as well and interviews and such to tell the story. So I gotta ask the questions that haven't been
Oh, I
asked
don't
yet. So,
mind. No problem. You should away.
all right. So I want to actually go before you started the company, just to start out to ask. Part of the story is your grandfather making poutine out of potatoes. Were you a poutine drinker before all of this?
It depends now. My dad's going to listen to this. Yes, I was. I was. He introduced me to poaching as like a teenager. Obviously, the drinking age is a lot lower in Europe than it is here in the States. But yeah, he introduced it to me, and I couldn't understand why we weren't bottling it and selling it. I didn't realize what he was doing or what the people, all the farmers in Inishowen were doing was illegal. And he used to like soak his brandy, poaching in brandy balls, which is like it tastes like Fireball basically. And he was soak it for a couple of weeks, and then we would try it. I actually took one of the bottles down to the distillery just to see what it was, and the proof was 97%. So how we all have our eyesight is amazing.
uh, in addition to your family's poaching, before starting a liquor company, what were you drinking?
Vodka, I was probably drinking Jack Daniels. I would have drank, but I don't know if you know this here, but I was only ever going to make vodka because that's all I drank. I'm not a fan of gin at all. And then one of my friends worked in the industry, and she's like, like gin's going to be this huge trend. We can see like the forecast is going to be this massive thing. You kind of need to get ahead of it. And I was like, I just can't sell something that I don't drink or I believe in. It's just I wouldn't be able to do so. So she said, go down to the distillery and figure out what it is that you don't like. So I went down and I messed around or we messed around and I found out I actually don't like juniper berries, which is pretty important for a gin. So if you haven't tried our gin, it is not juniper led, so it's very strict to say, but there's enough juniper berries in it to call it a gin. So now I drink that, but vodka would have been my go-to before my gin and whiskey.
Gotcha. And I'm sure the marketing teams have told you this as you enter the US market, but most kind of American style gins are also lower in juniper. We seem to not go for the London dry style where it's that super punchy in the face Christmas tree kind of
Yeah,
juniper.
I don't like the
Uh,
sharpness at all. I just don't enjoy it. Um, so yeah, as I said, it's not juniper led. It's very citrusy on the nose, and I do a bit of champagne extract into it. But you're a whiskey fan more so than the gin and vodka, is that right?
whiskey mostly. I do enjoy gin. I think gin has maybe the most potential to show kind of the craft of the area in terms
Hmm.
of distilled spirits. Whiskey, you got different, you have other components that go into it, other factors, but gin is just the distilled spirit of whatever you want to make of it. In your case, potatoes, and the blend of botanicals that you want to use, whether it's 6 for Roku gin in Japan or 47 for Monkey in Germany. You know,
Yeah.
everything you put into the gin is of the place as much as possible. So I like that aspect of it. And sometimes I just really like a gin cocktail or gin neat.
Yeah.
Um,
The one thing I've loved now being in the States is like obviously there's so many bars here and mixologists and a lot of uh, bartenders put in so much ideas and crafts and like it's been amazing to see what they've come up with and like trying all the cocktails and being on cocktail lists or on the menus. That's probably been the best thing that I've noticed. Like I'm going into bars and I'm in New York at the moment, so I was here for St. Patrick's weekend and I went into a few bars and like was like, oh, what's this and what's this flavor? And I tried it. I was like, my God, it's great. So yeah, that's been a great experience.
love it. So, uh, again, just dipping into the origin story a little bit for yourself, you wanted to drop out of law school at 19 to start the company. Certain
Mhm.
family things prevented you from doing so at the time. You're talked out of it. Went into real estate instead, and then at 32, you decided it was time to take the plunge. I'm
Yeah.
curious because I hadn't heard this in interviews, I don't think, but in those 13 intervening years, were there any points in between then where you thought, all right, now's the time I'm going to do it, and then we're talked out of it, or was it just a straight 13 of not now?
Wasn't talked out of it. I talked about it a lot. And even all, do you know, when you go for interviews, people always ask you, like, tell us something interesting about you, like, what's your hobbies or whatever. And my answer was always, I am literally here to make a bit of money. I'm going to move home. I'm going to have an alcohol company called the Muff Liquor Company. I'm going to learn how to make vodka from potatoes. Um, and like I could still see all my old bosses' faces going, "What?" So I talked about it nonstop, and to the point that when I had my launch party on the 3rd of February 2018, all my old team and all my old bosses from the three companies I worked for in London, um, they all flew over for it. They were like, we listened to you talk about this for so long." So the idea never necessarily left me. I was more so that I would nearly give up on the idea. You know, the more the years went past, I'm like, is this ever going to happen for me? And you obviously I was growing my own career and I was climbing the corporate ladder, and then you're obviously getting more responsibility and you're getting more money that you're getting the golden handcuffs that you get comfortable. Um, and I was very much at that point, and then Tom, my business partner, my original investor, we were in Shanghai one day and I was just absolutely miserable. And he was like, "If you mention the Muff Liquor Company to me one more time," he had listened to it for 8 years. I said, "I really feel that that is what my calling in life is." So he was like, "Just quit your job and go home." So within like 3 months, I did. So my father is an entrepreneur. My brothers and my sister are entrepreneurs, and I'm a real late one. I'm 18 years difference in age. They said when they got the text message to say I've quit and I'm moving home, they said it was like a death. They just couldn't believe that I was actually going to do this. They all tried to talk me out of it. But my brother was like, "She's coming and prepare yourself because she is determined to make this work." And that was 7 years ago.
As you said, launched on February 3rd, 2018. You were on another show where it was the host's birthday of that. You missed mine by one day on the second, so no,
Uh,
I won't take any offense. It's okay. Um,
we can celebrate yours next year for sure.
Fair enough. So the something you just said uh, brought up another question in my mind that I was going to ask later, but I'll ask it now, which was, it sounds like you had this idea that you were going to start the Muff Liquor Company from the beginning. So was the name in your plan from the beginning as well, like back to when you were 16 or
Yeah,
19? Yeah.
no. So the punching when I was interested, I was probably 16 or 17, but again, never thought much of it. I was around 19 when I wrote my first email to my family saying I want to do this, which as I said, you know, it went down like a lead balloon. But I have
Yeah.
that email. I have that framed and I printed that email exchange out and have it framed in my office now as a reminder, which is like, can you believe it's like 20 years now? Um, sorry, what did you say?
Oh, it was. I'm thinking back to like how early in the process was
Oh, the name?
the name. Yeah.
Yeah, early on. I obviously heard it from somewhere. I think I'd actually think I was told. No, I don't know where the. I knew it was going to be called the Muff Liquor Company. And the amount of people that have contacted me since saying that I stole their company name. I mean, I wouldn't have to work a day if I got €1 for every time somebody said it to me. But the name was going to be catchy, and then I had it, and then the idea of the whole story. And even when I was creating the story, we weren't really sure what our story brand was going to be. And like everybody was getting very creative with it. And they were all going down like the smutty look. And I went out in London one night and I had a few drinks after my job. And I went back and I was like, hold on, like this all started from my grandfather, who was an incredible, honorable man who worked extremely hard and had lots of children and was like worked, he's alive until over 100. And um, just really so respectful. And it's a name of like of a village, and that's a community of Inishowen and Donegal, and I'm very proud of it. And the team just came back and were like, "Oh, there's your story. Like we can just tell the truth." And I was like, "The truth probably works best than trying to make up a brand story," which I know obviously brands do that. I get it. However, I would really struggle to try and make up a story. It just wouldn't sit with me at all.
That's fair. I ask it because it is such a kind of obvious, if you will. It's the name. It's the name of the town. It's the name of the village. Uh, it can be tongue in cheek, but it's also just the name of the village.
Yeah.
And um, I thought about, it's one of those things where, like, what am I trying to say? It's one of those things where even if you didn't start the business at 19, like you'd originally planned, like how early would you thought of to trademark or patent that name so nobody could take it from you before going
Oh,
forward?
oh,
Like you said, so many people wanted the name, but you got it.
no, I had it from a really young age. Like I had the name for a really long time, for years, and then I actually heard the story that Ed Sheeran had tried to buy the name, which I was like, as if. And then obviously I've now met him, but it turned out that it was true that he was going to open an off what do you call it, an off license a liquor store. That he thought it'd be a really cool name. So it was just such a coincidence. I did think obviously it's quite quirky. It's funny. I just think with any brand, you've got to have something quite memorable and quite shocking and stand out. That the name, obviously, it's very catchy. And I knew I did something really right when I did my first ever gin expedition down in Belfast. I was the second stall when you came in the door, and I think there was 50 of us. And when everybody was finished, I took off my Muff t-shirt, put on a normal t-shirt, and I went outside to the front door to speak to everybody afterwards. And I was like, "How was your day?" And everybody was a bit like, a little bit tipsy. And then it was amazing. It was so good. We got to try all this here. And I was like, "What? Who did you remember?" And they all just went Muff Liquor. They couldn't tell me the profile. They couldn't tell me another name of another brand. But I was like, I've done my job. The fact that they are so, it was such a memorable thing. And then obviously, like I was obviously very nervous, thinking, is this going to fail? Will people be turned off by it? Will they think it's a gimmick? So I spent a lot of time making sure our liquid was going to be so unbelievably pure and so good that they would buy it probably as a gimmick, try it, and then absolutely love it. And thankfully, that's what happened. And we win blind competition all the time, all over the world. Like they don't see the name. So it worked out perfect. I feel that we've ticked every box in regards to the name, the branding, the story, the liquid. I'm obviously pretty biased, which doesn't help the situation, but I
No,
am.
that's totally fine. And so I don't want to spend, too much because we can obviously spend the entire episode just on the name. Others have done kind of that. So I want to just ask maybe two questions on that, and then we'll move on to the product and other things to talk about for sure. When I first got the bottle, and first started doing the research for this episode, I wasn't sure if it was kind of more of a low key thing, if it was, or if it was really leaned into as part of the marketing. And as you said, it's somewhere in between. You know, it gets people's eyes, it gets the attention, they might remember it, but there's also a very good product behind it that they're going to remember. Even if they forget the name later, they're going to remember the product, and that's what's most important. um, First one, and you referenced your dad earlier. You said on the entrepreneur experiment last year that your dad is very religious. Was there any pushback from him on using the name or the family?
Oh my God. He said to me, he's like, why are you calling it? Can I answer this truthfully on your
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah, yeah.
So he said to me, he's like, why are you calling it the Muff Liquor Company? And I said, Papa, sex sells. And he was like, say no more. I'll be praying for you. I'll be praying for you. So I don't know if you want to tell that story or not, but listen, he's my biggest fan. He's one of my tour guides now in the brand home. He's 87 years old. He's up there 3 days a week in Muff. He's become more of a tourist attraction than the building itself. So He's great. He's a businessman at the end of the day. He walks around in Quinta Lago in Portugal on his golf holiday wearing his Muff Liquor t-shirt, as proud as punch. So not a bother.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think of Ireland as one of the more, let's say, on the more conservative spectrum of kind of Christian majority
Yeah,
countries. Uh,
absolutely.
U.S. is not far behind that, I would say.
Okay, but maybe
And
cut that part out then of my out of this podcast.
oh no, no, you're fine. I That's the thing. I want the true stories because those are the ones that are most interesting. Truth is always more interesting than anything else. But the question came to mind though, which was as you're entering all these different countries and markets that you've entered, which is now, just to throw a few out there, you're in obviously Ireland, the UK, parts of the EU, Australia, and now the US. Are there markets where you have to either pull back on that aspect of the marketing, or there are markets where you can lean in more to it? Like, do you ever
Yeah,
have to adjust it as the audience requires?
absolutely. I'm very respectful in the Irish market, more so because it is a name of a village in our area, and I like hire local people, and I'm very proud of where I'm from. Australia, they they're a little bit more risky, I suppose. I don't know the word to describe it. So we had a bit more fun with that. But then again, my motto is thanks to our marketing agency is like we bend it, we don't break it. As much as we have a fun brand, we're very serious about our spirits. So I don't mind people having a bit of fun with it, but at the end of the day, I'm very serious about my company and how my work ethics and my morals and how my team represent myself and the brand. Um, America has been a new experience for me. I feel like we've definitely stepped into a new fun version of it, which even I was a little bit restraining on it. But I feel like it's like you've got to evolve with the brand as well. And I think we've earned our stripes. Like, yes, the name is memorable, but like our liquid's amazing and we've built this amazing brand home. We've got these incredible investors and these like Lucas Bulls are importer like they are the oldest spirit company in the world. They're 450 years and they believe in us so much that we can have a bit of fun now. And I'm like well, I didn't set up the company thinking I'm a very serious person, like as like I am a serious person, but I'm not a serious person. Like I enjoy a bit of tongue in cheek and thinking outside the box, I suppose.
Or I mean, you can't. We'll definitely touch on Lucas Bowles a little bit later, but you can't have a company that's tongue in cheek, and you can't have Jimmy Carr on board as one of the ambassadors and not allow for tongue in cheek on that. You know, I Again, the celebrity partnerships are certainly something that's well publicized. The Russell Crowe being one of the first to come on board, and then Ed Sheeran and many more. But for me personally, the Jimmy Carr thing was just so that's the name that I'm most impressed with because I love comedy and I've seen all of his specials. He's one of
Jimmy's
those
great.
guys yeah, he's one of those guys that I would love to meet one day. But that's fine. But again, you can't have him on board and take yourself too seriously. He'll just
Yeah,
joke about it.
yeah, and again, like we people ask me about the Muff Liquor men all the time, which you just mentioned the celebrities. Those guys are incredible men. They are family men and they're hardworking and they are very creative and they're fun and they're serious business people. You put all that together, which we all are, it's as I said, like we are very serious about our business, but we have fun doing it. Like we own an alcohol company called the Muff Liquor Company. Like it couldn't be more fun. It could be more fun to do.
Sure. And just to mention at this point in the podcast, I have gotten to try the Muff Liquor whiskey. So it's a 5-part peated Irish whiskey of grain and malt. And I'll have tasting notes when the episode goes live. I really enjoyed it. And I do hope to try the gin. The vodka is probably going to be lost on me just because I don't drink a lot of vodka, but the gin for sure. It's if it shows the provenance, if it shows what you're about, I'm down to try it.
You
Uh,
won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. So while entering this space, as your whole family seems to be entrepreneurs, and so there's always obstacles along the way. And one of the ones that is particular, actually, maybe not particular to the whiskey industry. So go with me on this. Is just this idea of all the things you don't think about. It's the coding, the patents, the registrations, the licenses you have to get to even start the business, let alone in a liquor business. Um, Entering the space, you had friends and colleagues in the industry who kind of took you under their wing, and as you said at one point, John Teeling had become a mentor.
Still is.
Still is. So, who are some of these, some of the people who have guided you along the way? I always love to know kind of the branches up and the branches down. So, how you got where you are.
Yeah, well, like a lot of people, I always tell everybody, if you're starting off something and you believe in it, like I would rather lose face than lose money. Like ask the questions, reach out. You can reach out to 20 people. The people that you think might help you are the ones that probably don't, and then there's other people who might surprise you. So like John Teeling was is a great man. I like he's the first person to ever send me a response to a newsletter when we put it out. He is without fail the first person to write to me about our news or what we're up to. Um, a lot of people in the industry, like the thing is, I'm using the word competitors. I know we all know what we all do and how hard it is. Like if we can help each other out, we do. Like we ring people and say, "How did you do that?" Or what was the agency? Or who's the tax advisor? Or who's your importing? What forms did you fill out? I have no problem sharing that with anyone. As I always say, there's a million different spirits out there. If you don't like mine, I'm all on for supporting Irish. We're from this tiny little country in the middle of the water, and I think we could produce really good things and really good products. So I always say, if it's not mine, I like to see other Irish products on the shelf. But yeah, loads of my competitors, like Sleeve League, who's one of my Donegal distillery, James and Mora helped me out loads. As you mentioned, John Teeling. Board Bia helped me out. Enterprise Ireland, all those people that you whatever. And I contacted a lot of the in distillers who had just started out when either a few years ahead of me or before me, because I didn't have a distillery when I started, or my name was so cheeky. I wasn't too sure if this was going to be a huge marketing ploy. So I more or less had a marketing business for a couple of years as opposed to the spirit. So I leaned on a lot of people. As I said, like the worst they're going to say is no, or they just don't get back to you. Like people aren't going to. As I said, I have no problem asking for help. Zilch. It's got me this far.
No, it's something that I consistently hear from people in the industry, whether they've been there 40 years, 10 years, whatever, that or they're just starting out, that even across countries, people are open to helping out, which is it's something really lovely. And you mentioned Schlieve League. James has been on the podcast. Is the only reason I can pronounce that correctly. Uh, so they're doing great stuff up in Donegal, keeping it a Gaeltacht region, and
Sure.
presenting that tradition history as well. And I just love the explosion of Irish products. There we go. That's the word. That's coming out now. Vodkas, gins, whiskeys. Boan was another recent guest on here. Dingle, all these places that like Muff are growing and getting more names out there than just the ones that we know about.
Yeah.
So before moving on, any desire on your part to become kind of a formal mentor yourself?
Um, yes. Like I feel like I at this moment in time, it's more like teenagers that I like mentoring or I like speaking to, like that TY age. I was a bit of a social butterfly. I had no attention span in school. I was failing exams left, right, and center. I had personal trauma like with my family. My mom was sick for most of my teenage years, and it was a lot. And like I feel like it's my duty to be from a successful entrepreneur from this tiny little village or this area to remind teenagers that like this isn't your fate. Like whatever's going on in your life right now is you can take another direction at another stage. Like I've had three different careers. I did finish my law degree. I then got my postgrad. Like everything I went into to study, I don't work in any of that anymore. Obviously, I worked in property for years, and then I moved into the liquor license or business, which the only experience I knew about alcohol was drinking it. Like I knew nothing about it, let alone setting up a business. So I started from scratch. So um, I like to help people as much as I can. I only have so much capacity of myself, especially with what I'm doing at the moment in the States, trying to run a global business while I'm still, America is such a huge focus for us, and we're still like a small team. Selfishly at the moment, I'm not in the headspace for mentoring, but yeah, please God, like down the line, I will pay it forward. There's no doubt about it.
It's wonderful to hear. And yeah, that America is a beast. It's 50 different markets, if not
Yeah.
more, to go to. So I wish you the absolute best of luck with that. I know it's tough, but I think you got the product to make it through. And one of the things that, besides the name itself, that people will see and that catches their eye is the bottle design.
Thank you.
So the I know the you had an original bottle design that was
Mhm.
originally from France, I believe, but that changed in 24.
Yeah, so the bottle that we had, we didn't own it. It came from France, as you said, Saver Glass, which was huge. And then when we got this massive opportunity with Lucas Bowles for the US and like globally, um, we were like, we need to get our own custom bottle that we can get it made in multiple different glass companies around the world if needs be. We were very concerned that our last supplier wasn't going to be able to keep up with the quantities and demand and the lead time and stuff like that. And we were kind of told in the industry, they're like, look, if you're coming to the States and you're making a stand, you need to have your own custom made bottle. And I was like, do you know how expensive they are? So, and then I thought of and like I think of a few people were like, I have obviously board meetings all the time, and they'll go, no, I don't think so. And then I go, yeah, we're getting it, we're doing it. So the bottle design, Connor Smith has been our creative designer from day dot. We've been with him for sort of 7 years, so 8 years more. He's actually working on a new bottle for us now. We've got a new product coming out later this year, hopefully. Um, and the first time I actually met him, I said, right, I have this idea and this is what I want. And I told him the whole thing. And my business partner, Tom, was like, Laura, that guy has no idea what just came out of your mouth. Because I'm looking at you going, what? But in fairness to Connor, 3 days later, came back with basically exactly what I wanted. And he has worked with us. He's an amazing guy. And then the new bottle. My slogan for the company is inspired by the past, driven by the future. I always liked, obviously, our heritage with my grandfather, and a nod to him, but driven by the future is it's me and the bold and the brave and this new generation that like a woman owned and I'm fighting my corner as such. So I like it. So with the bottle, I wanted it to be new. And funky, a nod with a little punching handle, nod to my grandfather, and I just think it tied in really, really nicely. Now, the bottles that you've seen are going to be changed again. Our labels, I'm going to do a bigger label at the back because it's only when I moved to America and I was sitting in a bar and I said, do you have any muff? And they said, yeah, we do. And I could not see it on the shelf. I was like, I cannot see my bottle anywhere. And then somebody put um, a nap or a menu behind it and I could see it and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, we made a mistake.
Gotcha.
Um,
The
so back to Connor.
transparent-ish background kind of
Yeah.
do that. I
So
hear you.
back to Connor. Back to Connor to do another one. So I said to him, I was like, we should actually have a book made of all the different labels that we've had over the last 8 years because my goodness, it just doesn't end. Like there's just always something wrong with something that we need to. And I'm a perfectionist, and I want the best of the best, so we have to change it all again.
Will it necessitate a bottle redesign, like the glass itself, or just the label size
Just label.
placement? Just label. All right. Well,
Yeah,
that's a plus
I
at
love the
least.
bottle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the bottle as it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about just the scale of what you need to go into the U.S. with. Your first order for the U.S. was 30,000 cases, so 180,000 bottles, assuming zero breakages. So probably closer to 200,000 if we're,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Not
know,
we didn't have one break, thank God. But like
like,
we're flat out praying to the
yeah.
sea, the ocean gods are like, please, please. But yeah, everything's been okay so far.
And I've heard you speak on other podcasts very eloquently and passionately about the trials and tribulations you endured during COVID as a business, as a person as well, of course, but as a business. And one of the most enduring aspects of that is supply chain shortages. So I know when you say, the it's at the mercy of the sea, a lot of the times that's more true, I think, and we realize it's more true now than we had perhaps have in the past. Something that came to mind too when thinking about and hearing this custom bottle design, this beautiful design, it's not a off the shelf bottle, was you've managed to create a premium product that's the vodka, gin, and whiskey premium products, all at very reasonable price points. They're all under $40 US.
Mhm.
So, and again, with a custom bottle, with many different things to do. So, I'm curious from your perspective what the word premium means. We often associate it with high price, but
Yeah,
that's not necessarily true.
it's high quality. It's my whole thing is people said to me, "You're too cheap in the States." I was like, I do not want my bottles to be sitting on shelves gathering dust. I want people to and try them and enjoy them and make memories and have fun and have a bit of crack and have good have a good day. So my and the team's motto was like, let's have a lower price point and let people enjoy really premium products. I think too, obviously Gen Z and this new like people are very cautious of what they're putting into their bodies. Like my nieces and nephews are 12, 14 years younger than me. We have two completely different relationship when it came or even at their age going out that they would rather spend that little bit of extra on really premium products that they know what they're putting into their bodies as opposed to when I was a teenager, like let's be honest. So um yeah, that's what we wanted to do it. We're targeting and that's that generation of people who think outside the box, want premium goods, like a bit of bougie as I like to call myself and yeah, I want people to be drinking it and not, as I said, it doesn't do me any good if it's sitting on a shelf, I can tell you that.
I appreciate that as a consumer. It's there are a lot of good products that are higher priced and all of that, but we're clearly seeing a slowdown. Irish whiskey being one of the very few segments that is still growing, particularly in the US. I think in that same article, it's grown by 1.8%, which honestly for last year was pretty damn good. Everything else stalled or went down. We saw a lot of price cuts. We're seeing companies cutting workforce everywhere, really across the world, and yet, and people are being more conscious about where their money is going. So I think you
Mhm.
have a point as well in that if something's, let's say, just 40 for the sake of argument, taxes and all that being a little different in each state. Let's say a bottle is $40.
Mhm.
That's not a big risk. That's something that I look at and I'm like, maybe I'll love it, maybe I'll hate it, but like it's not $150 or $200 bottle or more that we've seen that they're asking you to buy it off the shelf. You don't have a chance to try it. And like, if you don't like it, then you're at $200 as opposed to 40. Now,
Now, don't get me wrong. I sometimes I'm like, did we price it too low? Because I do think the liquid is so like I feel like it's a pretty premium spirit, and especially with all our advocates and our local our recent wins with the whiskey. Like I saw who won those awards before me. And I mean, there's a price point of over $100 between myself and the last 3 years where I'm like, damn, I was like, maybe I have undercut myself. That sometimes I'm like, will they not pick up my product because they think it's too cheap of a gift? That they need to go a little bit higher, not knowing that it's probably a more superior liquid. So like I have questioned myself on that, but look, we made an assessment decision to have the three products the same line price of 34.99, and that's what they're sticking to. So we're here
and,
now.
to just give you the full credit, the award that you mentioned, World Whiskies Award, I believe this is the one you mentioned, the World Whiskies Awards Ireland of 2025, Muff Liquor Company won Best Blended Malt Irish Whiskey. Um, really wonderful. And yes, as you said, there are a lot of names on this year's lists and previous lists that you should be proud to be alongside. But you beat
I
them by 100 plus bucks
I
easily.
know. So I did see that now. even the Whiskey Advocate, we were a really high price point, like a really high score. And again, the next person I was looking at, it was like $50,000 was theirs. So I kind of looked at everybody going, right, we've obviously got a really good liquid here, and either we've shot ourselves in the foot, like, or we're obviously having a joke, but look, it's amazing. Look, I'm extremely proud of the liquid I that we have. I always say to the celebrities, the biggest celebrity that I have is the liquid in the bottles, as opposed to those guys. Um, yeah, look, I think we've done an amazing job. I'm very proud of them.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the whiskey a little bit and
Okay.
that liquid. So this is the Whiskey Ring podcast. I like the other spirits too, but it's about whiskey usually.
I don't
So
have a favorite, David. You have to, I have to love them all equally. But
uh,
we'll talk about whiskey.
I'll give them all time except for I usually don't do vodkas. I'll make exceptions, and tequilas are just lost on me. I don't like agave, but that's a
Lost on me too. People
yeah,
keep on saying to me, "You're not going to make a tequila." I'm like, absolutely not. I was like, did I not give you enough? I was like,
right.
and the tequila just will not carry into the story. But yeah,
Um,
let's talk about my five part blend, Irish peat.
Absolutely. So number one, I do love the fact that it's peated. It's very traditional to the area, and um, it just feels more authentic and genuine to the area as a consumer. Um, in all the research done for this episode, the distilling partner was not mentioned, so I'm going to assume that it can't be mentioned.
Oh,
Um,
I don't hide it. My first one that I made it with was John Great Northern Distillers, which was done with John Teeling's Brian Watts, who unfortunately passed a couple of years ago. I went to him first and I said to him, I want to create this Irish whiskey. Um, I wanted this, and this, and I wanted it peated. And they were like, like a peated whiskey isn't something like the Irish do. It's more of a Scotch. And I was like, no. I was like, this is something that like the smell of peat reminds me so much of my granddad that I was like, the other two products are so much about him that I really want to do it. When I went home and I told my family that I was doing a peated whiskey, they were absolutely horrified. They were like, what? They were like, that is like like a Scotch. We did a small batch of that and I'm very impatient. I am trying really hard. This is my personal growth on a day-to-day basis is to have patience. I bottled it far too soon to get it out and it just wasn't mature enough. Um, I had whatever the barrels we had left. We're now with Hinch Distillery, which is like an hour and a half, maybe less, hour and 10 minutes from Muff. And our three products are made down there. And we've been with them for the last couple of years. So I don't hide. I don't hide. I'm as transparent as they come.
that's the feeling I've been getting in listening and reading. So I have to ask this question then, and it's not a judgment on you at all. It's a judgment on perhaps other interviewers. Like, did nobody else think to ask? Like, it's important to know where the liquid is from, especially if you
Yeah,
were going to be open
I get
about where it
asked.
is.
Yeah, I get asked all the time. Well, not all the time. But I don't hide it. Far from it.
Yeah,
Like those guys are the best distillers in Ireland. Oh, sorry, don't. They're one of a few. Like, there's loads of good Irish distillers. I don't want to ship the food here. They're great, and like, why would you not want to be working with the best? And um, yeah, like I don't hide that at all. I only built my brand home we only opened in July of last year. I have the tiniest little pot still there. I haven't even it's piped, but I haven't even got it up and running yet. I That's on my list to do. I plan on phase two of building another part of my business, but like I still haven't. You touched on it. Like I still haven't recovered from COVID. I was only going 18 months when the world crashed around us. I had 4 years of that. How I managed to keep my business going is a credit to myself. And then the last 2 years has just been pretty good. So I got a bit of money. We got this new opportunity in the US. My building is absolutely beautiful. So I heard you say that you've been to Donegal. So you all have to come and see it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then phase two, please God, which could be another couple of years down the line. God knows what's going to happen. I will build something else. But everyone keeps asking me what am I doing next. I'm like, just let me enjoy this for the time being. It's been a lot. It's been a long 20 years, I can tell you.
sure. And I know you've said you have a couple of other products down the pipeline, but I will have you back on for those. So I'll skip those for now,
Okay.
and leave that as a teaser. Let's see. So just in the last 15 or so minutes, I've got you for uh let's see, what do I want to ask next? So, oh, actually, this is a good one. So you said in this interview about the Irish whiskey market and the Irish whiskey industry still seeing optimism as the rest of the whiskey industry worldwide sees pessimism and downturn. One of the things that was pointed out about the your gin was that the gin is considered the quote hero product
Hmm.
for the rest of the world.
Hmm.
I'm curious now, as you've entered the US market and as your whiskey is getting more notoriety and being shared more, not to take away from your gin by any means,
Yeah, I know you're
but
good.
can you see your whiskey being the hero product in certain markets as opposed to the gin?
Oh, David, my whiskey is without a doubt my hero product in the US for, as I said, we launched 12 weeks ago, so we had our 12 months our Q1 results back. My whiskey is miles ahead of the other two. Now, in fairness, the gin is I'm very impressed with that, and then vodka's vodka. My vodka is amazing. Like, and I don't I and if vodka, it's so hard to try and talk about vodka. People ask me all the time, like, what's the nose and taste? I'm like, oh my God, it's vodka. It's really smooth and it's a really good vodka. Like, try it. Obviously with the flavors in the gin, it's gonna be different, and then the whiskey. So my whiskey is without a doubt my hero in the US. Who knows what will happen in the future? But if I didn't have my gin and it hadn't sold so well globally, I wouldn't have had a business. I wouldn't be here right now, is what I'm saying.
We hear that with many different companies that need vodkas and gins to start as their whiskey is aging. Recent guest Isle of Harris, basically their gin paid for their whiskey to be aging an additional 2-3 years. But I know you faced a particular challenge in the Irish gin market being saturated, so you had to look elsewhere for that. Um, I wish we had time to go into that one because it's a fascinating story, but we'll just stick with the whiskey for now, just because we and other things, just because we gotta. I want to
You're
still try
sure.
to ask you questions other people haven't asked you. So this is jumping topics a bit, but you have a tattoo
Yeah. Well, I've got
that
a
says
few.
for well, a few. Okay, fair enough. You got a few, but one in particular that says for the better on
Yeah,
your
I've got
wrist.
got it on my wrist. There it is.
So it's a reminder. It's a mantra that
Yeah.
whatever it happens, as you've said in other interviews, whatever happens, it ultimately is for the better. It'll push you forward. It always ends up better. In You've spoken about things like your proclivity for plant medicine, um, and how it's made you clearer and more vibrant. And there's another aspect to that that I really want to ask you about, which is talking about masculine and feminine energy.
Mhm.
So as you can tell, or as I hope you can tell, I personally and as a podcaster do not care if the person running or founding the distillery is man, woman, or anything. To me, it's about the product and how do they care about it and speak about it. But I've heard you say, you are a woman who started started a whiskey business. That's not even true. I'm going to edit that. You are a woman who started a spirits company, but you have to present masculine energy at certain times and feminine energy at other times. And I just wanted to give you a minute to talk about when you would use either and why.
Um, I use masculine energy. I think going back to evolution, like men are seen as the hunters and the providers and quite ruthless, and the women are soft and nurturing, and like that's just how I envisioned the masculine and feminine energy. I feel as me and my masculine energy in my business, you're constantly chasing and hunting and making decisions all the time. Like everything that happens in my business, no matter what, even if it gets down to loads of people having a discussion, it's still my sign off. And I do find that obviously quite exhausting. Um, I find it very important to have a balance of a masculine and feminine energy in every aspect of life. And I think it's really important to honor your mind, body, and soul when exercising and when you're working. And I feel like when you have it all together, it just works for me. I feel that I can handle situations a lot better. There's certain ones that I will drive through, and then there's other times I'll take a step back. And my motto is always throw water over fire. I feel that, but I feel once you have the clear, I think once you're balanced, you're very clear on what your message is. I think you can make the right decisions and follow your gut and guide you to the right move, the right for the better, I suppose.
Fantastic. And I do want to just shout out one particular interview you did where you do talk a lot more about the
Listen
plant
to all
medicine.
my interviews. I'm so impressed. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's listened to all my podcasts and
I
interviews before.
I tell you, I my purpose is to have it be interesting, worth your time as much as mine, and get some different answers and questions. If I ask you the same things that everyone else has asked you, then what's the point?
Sure.
That's kind of my motto for the podcast, if you will.
I
Um,
appreciate that actually, because normally people are like, tell me this, and I'm like, really? You could have just, you can read that anywhere. So I
exactly,
appreciate the research.
exactly. You can read it anywhere. So I just want to shout out. You did an interview with Ryan McDade, Life in Depth podcast in August 2023. That was not so much about the product. That was really much more about you for the first hour or so, and about your use of plant medicine and your ethos and your the way you deal with trauma and how even how plant medicine use has or has not hurt the business, or how you thought it might hurt the business but hasn't. So I do encourage people to listen to that if you're interested, for a really fascinating discussion that I wasn't expecting, but it really blossomed into one that I really enjoyed listening to.
It's funny you say that. Like my lawyers are like, please stop talking about this side of your business. Can you wait until whatever? So listen, I have to be true to myself, and I feel I have to be honest on who I am and where I come from, what I've been through, what I've overcome, how I've done so. At the end of the day, we're just people. And like I always say, if I die tomorrow, people are not going to go, gosh, she was a really good businesswoman. I either was a nice person or I was a bad person. Like that's one or the other. So I try to be a nice person as much as possible. And I just happen to run a global alcohol brand.
So we're going to put a pin in that statement just for a second, because that's my second to last question I'm going to ask you about. Um, so I've got three left for you, and that's the second one. So that first one that I want to get to, which is the newer part, which is the Lucas Bowles partnership. As you said,
Woohoo.
it's oldest spirits company in the world. It's got a massive multi-billion-dollar portfolio, thousands of products, and they've decided Muff Liquor Company is worth taking on. We can bring you to the U.S. and devote time, which, as we've heard other guests say, that's usually the biggest problem, is finding distributors to take your products, particularly in the US. So just quickly, how did this come about, and what else is this going to open for you?
Well, my first note on that is the Muff Liquor Company has been the most successful launch that Lucas Bols has ever had in the history of their business. They
Congratulations.
Thank you. They
Fantastic.
told me that last Thursday, so I am over the moon. So Tony Carl, who's my global CCO, he left one of the big companies to come and join me. At that stage, obviously, I had Russell Crowe, Ed Sheeran, Jimmy Carr, Rhoda Keating, and everyone I think in the industry was like, "Who is this girl? What is she about? Why are all these like people leaving?" Um, Brett Dunn, who's the CEO of Lucas Bowles US, and Tony were talking. He was like, what's going on?" So they tried the liquid, and he tried the liquid. Was like, I need a meter. So I was living in Australia at the time in Russell's house. I got a message saying, "Can you fly to New York and come and do a pitch?" Basically, we ended up staying a couple of days. I flew back to Australia, and then I got another phone call saying, "Any chance you can fly back to Dublin and meet the other side of Lucas Bulls in from Amsterdam?" So they came and sat down, and the first thing he said to me was like, "I just want you to know I don't get on planes for anyone." And I was like, "Just so you know, I don't fly the other side of the world for anyone either." But they're amazing. Again, they completely fit our module, how great they are, how personable they are. They're great family people. They look after their teams. Like their employees have been with them like 20 odd years. Like to me, I think that's an awful like credit to someone. You might not know them personally, but if you have teams that have been with you from forever, like I hats off to you.
Mhm.
Um, we've got them globally partnership. Again, I don't have the funds to go global, so all my resources that I have at the moment are going into the US, and that will be my foreseeable future. Sorry, that's what I'll see for the for foreseeable. And yeah, next year. I would love to go back to Asia. Asia is kind of where I was like where I started my where I was planning to target and hit up, and then obviously COVID hit and everything that we worked on completely collapsed around us. But there's just a little something there that I feel that I need to go back in for my own personal challenge to go see it through.
So the last two questions I have for you have to do with legacy.
Okay.
Um, and so, as you just said, you want to be remembered for being a good person, not about being a good businesswoman or that you created a good business. That's it's secondary. On Entrepreneur Experiment, you said that if you were to die tomorrow, you know, God bless it doesn't happen, that it's okay for your brothers to sell the business, take the money, celebrate your life with it. That's how you want to be remembered.
Yeah.
So that's one outcome.
Mhm.
Now the other side of that is the they celebrate your life in another way, and the business continues
Yeah.
and it continues to grow. So in that outcome, if you're no longer either with us or no longer leading the company, what do you want the business's legacy to be beyond you?
Um, well, again, my whole thing is, as I said, this was my dream. I feel it's amazing how my family, they're all shareholders now, but they weren't shareholders at the beginning. They only became shareholders in the last 2 years. For me, I'm just like, if it ended, if I was not here, I just don't want people to feel the pressure to continue, like to continue it on. My legacy, again, I would like to think that I've given some young people some sort of inspiration or hope to realize that your life is not mapped out from your being teenagers, and they're you just to believe in yourself and believe that no matter what, you are capable of doing anything that you want to do. Like, you have a choice in life, so always choose yourself. And I would like to people just like reminder that I'm just being a really positive person, and I'm a really happy person, and I don't know, that's it. But I love my family and my friends more than anything, and my boyfriend, and the rest is just an added bonus at this point.
Forgive the laugh that I had in the middle of that, as Laura
Like,
probably saw.
God,
But
I was like,
yeah,
your face actually disappeared, and all I could see was this cat in the background. It was
yep,
very,
jumped
very.
from the barrel onto the desk on how he did that, but right in the middle of a serious answer. So my apologies for that, but that was a little bit funny. Um, so the last question I have for you on air is, finally on that Life in Depth episode I referenced. This is about a year and a half ago. It was August of 23. The host Ryan asked you who you were doing this for, and you gave a couple of different answers, like that it felt to me as a listener that you weren't quite sure. Like the question kind of took you off guard at that moment. And so I'll ask you now, as we're recording in March of 2025, if you kind of know who you're doing this for.
Oh, me. I'm doing it solely for me. Um, I think there was a lot of time that I felt I was doing it for something else, and then I have a life coach, Jerry Hussey. I refer to him a lot, and like we had a conversation recently, and he was like, "Why? Where does this drive come from? Like, what is this all about?" And it ended up coming back when I went through all my trauma. My family went in, like, again, entrepreneurs, but they went into liquidation twice. They went in like as the early on age, their business went under, and then they built it back up again. Then it happened again in 2008. And the trauma of that was absolutely horrific. And even though as a family we obviously are stronger than ever, I always had this thing that I just never want my family to suffer. I don't want my nieces and nephews. I want people to like live a nice, happy life. But in regards to the business, I think because I wanted to do it for so long, I'm so determined to see it through for myself that people constantly said to me that I wouldn't be able to do it and it was a pipe dream, that I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And now, once I'm over that last little, like I got over that hurdle of the last, like you're talking about 2023, my God, like so much has happened in that time. Like it's insane that now that I've got this I feel less pressure. Oh, sorry, the fear of it being taken away from me is not there anymore. So I'm actually enjoying it now. And I haven't been able to say that I've enjoyed the business up until now. So now it's like a case where like I just want to go and enjoy it and do something that I'm extremely proud of. I'm so extremely proud I had the courage and the determination to do what I've done and to continue doing. And I'm going to have fun with it. And if it all ends tomorrow and if I disappeared, at least I bloody did it, you know? A lot of people live through this life and they never have taken that chance. I'll always get a job doing something, so it'll be grand.
Fantastic. Well, Laura, thank you so much for spending an hour with me, coming on, talking about the Muff Liquor Company. Uh, all the listen to all the show notes, all the end notes. You'll hear where to find them, where to buy them. If you're in the U.S. or in other markets, I know we have a lot of listeners out there in Australia, of all places. So we're worldwide audience, and a lot in the U.S. So also places to follow, like, subscribe, both the podcast and Muff Liquor Company. Laura, hang out with me for a moment after we finish recording. This has been another episode of the Whiskey Ring Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Like, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen. And I will see you all next week.